Welcome to this post-game media edition of Talking Hoosier Baseball. I'm Carl James. Today is Sunday, September 24th, 2022. Indiana traveled to Bob Warren Field in Terre Haute to play 14 innings of baseball against the Indiana State Sycamores. The MVC program managed to edge out the Hoosiers 8-7 with a pair of 3-run innings, one early and one very late. The real story of the day for the Hoosiers was a stretch of 19 straight retired, where several Indiana pitchers absolutely dominated the trees. Chris Feeny and I caught up with head coach Jeff Mercer after the game.
Hey, Coach, thanks for the time. You talked about Friday night. You mentioned that it was important to now play some games and you can learn some stuff.
Yeah.
And right off the bat, the first inning, they had some learning experiences, some defensive miscues. What'd you pick up? What'd you see? What happened?
Well, a couple things. So it's a great opportunity. So the earpiece to our catcher didn't work, right? So you could tell immediately, all of a sudden, it's like there's a bit of anxiety, right? And then we get crossed out, and everyone's kind of a little bit in disarray, which happens in the course of a game. You make an error, you walk a guy, and you get a little bit in disarray, and we didn't handle it very well, right? You make an error in left, and we make a throwing error, we don't cover the base, and you could just tell it kind of got sped up on the guys, and those things happen in the course of a season. And when you're playing a really good team like them, they make you pay for it. They make you pay for it immediately, and that's what happened. And then you have to go in and settle back down. But you're exactly right. It's a great learning opportunity. Well, when one thing doesn't go right and all of a sudden it's a little bit off kilter, the rest of us have to handle that, right? It doesn't mean that we don't know the signs. We get crossed up between the pitcher and the catcher, and all of a sudden everyone's a little bit sped up. You just have to slow down, all right, make an adjustment. The game's going to be on you guys for a little bit until we get things figured out. So that was kind of immediate. You could see that kind of the tenseness, and we didn't handle it great. But as you said, it's a good opportunity for us to have that conversation because there will be things happen. We'll drop a pop fly, we'll walk a guy, we'll make an error. And how do you respond in that? And we didn't do a great job there in the first inning doing that.
Seemed like throughout the game, though, the response was, it was there, right? The defense seemed a lot better. Bobby Whalen going all out in center field. Yeah. And what did you see from him today in the outfield? It really seems like he takes charge out there, even in a full ball game.
Yeah, Bobby was terrific. In our outfield play has to be better than it was last year. It's something I've really challenged the guys with, and we've talked a ton about it with the collective group of being prepared and being aggressive and trusting your instincts and going and making plays, just like Hunter did in that last inning. He makes that circus catch on the wall. You have to sprint to your spot and hope you can finish and close, and he did that. So, yeah, Bobby's been a terrific defender. Collectively, the group has to continue to improve, but it comes from an assertiveness and an aggressiveness to go make a play and confidence that you can finish. And collectively, they did a better job of that than we did in the past, and Bobby certainly sets the tone with it.
Absolutely. And as far as the bats, they came out a little slow, but Philip Glasser looked really on point, looked focused. And I know he's a big leader in the room. It's probably big for him to step up.
Yeah, Phil's the consummate professional. And it's a conversation I had with the offensive group afterwards. We got humbled a little bit today. We weren't nearly as good as we normally are offensively. And for a group that is more veteran and has experience, you do expect better from them. But it is good to set the tone as you go into the rest of the fall, that because we have had a good offense last year, and because we've shown the ability to be good offensively, it's not just going to happen by accident. And we have to make sure that our drill works really good. I didn't think that we got in good positions physically. Our approach wasn't very good. We were a lot of pull side on the ground, which usually means I'm trying to do too much, get the ball up in the air to my pull side and get around it and those things. And so sometimes when you have success, you just expect it to come and you don't do the necessary process to get there. And today was one of those days, and I thought we, outside of 1 or 2 innings, I thought we pitched it well, and we just didn't do enough offensively to support that group, and made a few mistakes along the way that hurt you defensively. We weren't very good on the bases, the things that we've worked a lot on and talked a lot about. We just on a straight steal, we stop and hold up on a straight steal on a line drive and don't go first to third. Next guy single in the 6th hole would have scored a run. The exact same situation that happened last week where we were bases loaded. There's a double in the gap, and we hang too tight to second base with 1 out. And we should have been hanging further off, and we go thrown at the plate. We have to score in those situations. That would lead to a 5 or 6 run first inning, and the rest of the game is different if you do those big innings like that. So, yeah, it wasn't our best offensive day, but the humility you gain from it, I think, is a really good thing. And then from the offense, being able to trust more in your pitching staff. Like, hey, we don't have to do too much. We got a staff that's going to go out and keep us in ball games and be able to pitch and execute. And So yeah, that's exactly right. It's why you come play really good teams on the road in these situations, these environments where you're not going to be able to just try to play homer derby and get around balls and do more than that. They're just too good. They're not going to let you do it. So the humility that comes with that is a really productive way to learn throughout the rest of the fall.
And on the other side of it, retiring 19 in a row from the pitching staff. A lot of arms that we saw Friday, did very well again. Sinise is so impressive. I mean, just from sitting in the bleachers, what I mean, watching it. He has a presence out there. He knows what he's doing. What have you seen from him? What do you, he definitely has it out there.
Yeah, Seti is just like you said, he's very, very mature. He's very calm. I love the way between pitches. At first, when he was out there pitching, he kind of looks over the dugout to kind of collect himself. And I thought he was looking in, at me, like I needed something. And it's not him. It's just kind of him collecting himself between each pitch. The splitter is a real weapon. He's got massive hands. And so the splitter makes the fastball really, really play up. He can land a slider early in the count for a strike. And then the fastball's got some play to it. And so if you use the splitter fastball combination, makes the fastball and the splitter out pitches, right? We can go to both of them with 2 strikes. For a lot of guys, you have to go. I mean, not a lot. There are a lot of guys you have to go to the off-speed pitch to get the strikeout. When the splitter's involved, now the fastball becomes a strikeout pitch, and that's a huge deal for him. And he can really, really get to both sides of the plate with his fastball. And that was something in the recruiting process that we loved about him. And his junior college coach is a good friend of mine, and he said that just the fastball command is elite. I think he had like 8 walks in 70 innings or something like that, and just can really, really locate it, and everything else plays up from it. But he's not rattled. Got a great pickoff move. He's quick to the plate. He's a 1-2 to the plate, and he's 6'4", 6'5". He's a big man, and all those things add up to make it hard to score in bunches against a guy like that.
And you mentioned his pickoff move, and we noticed some really good pickoff moves from the staff today. More than that we've used to seeing, to be honest. And has Dustin been working on that? Has that been a priority? The actual moves to first?
Yeah, it was always something that we. There's a difference in working on it and then making it a priority. And so we've really made it a priority from day one. We were working on pickoffs from day one, and establishing the fact that we are going to make an opponent honor us on the bases. And the ability we look at, we put them on the clock. I want at a 1 flat or below with our right-handed pick times at first base. Our lefties pickoff moves are a lot better, and then utilizing the inside move at second base. And you saw all those things come into play today, and really minimize their base stealing opportunities, and got us a couple outs in big key situations. So yeah, it's from the very beginning, it was something that we again, you always work on it, but there's a difference when you put it on the clock and you put it on the time every single day in your bullpens, in your catch play, and decide to make it a strength, and did a really good job of carrying it over into the game.
The results were definitely there. We noticed it. And something we also noticed, Luke Hayden's move looked really impressive. And his mechanics seemed a little different this season. Is there something he's been working on?
Yeah. Luke and Coach Glant have been working really, really hard to clean up his direction and just to get him down the mound appropriately. Luke is a terrifically talented player. He's working super hard. And he has a terrific arm, right? He throws really hard. He has great stuff. But sometimes he would overthrow and kind of get off a whack and kind of get out of line. And when you get out of line and you throw that hard, stuff kind of will spray on you. And Luke's been humble, and he's been very hardworking. He's been very, very, very attentive, and you can see the product on the field as you begin to value all those different pieces. And that's a very typical thing for a young, talented arm who's overpowered guys for the majority of his life, to then want to rely completely on the stuff. I can rely on the stuff to overpower guys and overwhelm them, and then you learn early on in your career you have to be able to pitch, and part of that is being in control of your body down the mound, and he's done a great job of that. And his pickoff move was outstanding. It was interesting. We literally worked on again yesterday our inside move mechanic and how that works with the middle infielder. And Glasser and him put it on, and he executed it perfectly. Gets out of a big jam there at second base, and those details of the game allow someone who is very talented, as Luke is, to then utilize that and put it into the game and put it into play. And now, if I have great stuff, I've got 3 pitches. He's working with the changeup this year more so, holding runners at first, inside move at second. And so if a guy gets on base, it's not a guarantee to second or third, and and you just manage. And I think having a couple of those guys, Gabe Levy and a couple of those other upperclassmen, Ben Seiler, that are professionals, and it really helps to have a role model say, hey, this is how you manage. Gabe Levy's had traffic a couple times in his outings, and you wouldn't know it, right? It's the way he pitches, the way he manages, and that example for young guys helps a ton too.
And now, obviously, the football game portion is over. Just overall impressions of the 2 weekends from you on the team and how they did on the field.
Yeah, offensively we'll be fine. I don't worry about our offense. We have to go back to work and make sure that we stay humble in our work with it. The big takeaway for me has been on the mound. Was the ability to throw 3 and 4 pitches, to manage the run game better, and to be able to execute in big situations and not just rely so primarily on stuff was our main focal point through the summer, through recruiting, and then in the fall as we've gone here this first month. And that's the major takeaway from me. For me is just how much better we are on the mound, kind of top to bottom here. And obviously Bothwell and then another transfer, Brooks, I haven't thrown yet, and Holyfield hasn't thrown yet. So I'm excited to see when all those guys are kind of going. But the big takeaway for me is just on the mound how much better we are top to bottom. And then the other things you clean up. You clean up the stuff on the bases as you play more and more, and you clean up the offensive stuff as you kind of you kind of lick your wounds a little bit and have to go back and make sure you're doing what you have to do. So pitching is on track where we wanted it to be. And other things, and now you have direction and perspective from a group. You come in and play Indiana State on the road, really good team, really good organization. Mitch Han's a great coach, and you know where you stand. It's a postseason team. Now you know where you stand. Now you know what you have to do. And I told the guys, and I always say this when, it's a Mino, Coach Mercer. Until you get in the game and you see all the details of it, base running is tedious and boring. Until you get in a game and you realize we just cost ourselves a 6-run first-run inning probably, and it's like, it's not Mino, Coach Mercer. It's just the game. It's just the standard of what it is. And so now you have those things, right? You have the perspective of how the game is going to play at a really high level on the road, and against a postseason team. And now you can go in and go to work. And it's always like, if you hold yourself to the standard that the most I don't want to say overbearing, but the most demanding coach possibly could be. If you hold yourself to that standard and all those details, then the rest of it takes care of itself, and you don't have to worry about any of the other stuff. And I feel really confident in this group to be able to go and take all the information you gain. You got 5 pages worth of game notes, and now you have great practice plans, and you have great awareness of what it's going to take to be a really, really good team, which we have all of the ability and the physical ability to do that this year. And you put it into action every day, and you just keep getting better.
As always, thanks for your time.
Yeah, I actually have one follow-up.
Oh, there we go.
Yes, you had the freshman Foley has now come in twice basically with runners on in a rough inning, and basically throwing gas and getting guys out.
Yeah, Connor is just a big, tough Southern Indiana kid, football player, basketball player. Actually, is going to do 2 ways for us. Is going to hit and pitch, and he kind of got thrown into the fire last week. And when you watch a young guy, especially a pitcher, when he comes in and he's throwing 3 or 4 miles an hour harder, his stuff is better, and he throws more strikes in the game than you've seen him do it in practice. I mean, there's something special to a guy like that. There's an attitude, there's a demeanor, there's a confidence, there's a competitor in a guy like that, and you figured it was in there. 3-sport guy, great player, really talented, but he got thrown in the deep end last week. And then, that guy goes to the top of your kind of oh crap list when things are going sideways. And it's like, oh crap, who do you go to? It's like, well, give the ball to the guy that's got guts and a lot of toughness. And he did that. Comes in again today in the middle of the fire and competes and is throwing hard and executes pitches to both sides, gets double play ball and gets out of it. So, yeah, he's super impressive. He's done an awesome job.
This concludes inter-squad action for the fall. The Hoosiers will now take the game notes and work on developing and challenging each other in intra-squad action. IUBase.com will provide updates where we can. Look for a schedule release later in the fall that will detail where the Hoosiers will start the 2023 season, which should begin on February 17th. Thank you for listening to Talking Hoosier Baseball. See you at the BART.